Hey, beautiful souls and creative minds. Welcome to the Artist Stoop, the podcast where we turn the art world into your personal playground. I'm Jillian Zapata, your host, and I can't wait to dive into the art world with you. Each episode will be kicking it with an incredible artist, unraveling their stories and turning the spotlight on the magic that happens beyond the brush. Get ready to discover new perspectives, forge connections, and immerse yourself one captivating conversation at a time. So grab your favorite beverage, maybe a sketchbook, and let's jump into the kaleidoscope of creativity together. This is the Artist Stoop, where art isn't just a thing you see, it's an experience you feel. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Artist Stoop. Today, we are joined by the brilliant Kesley, an artist who paints with dreams and memories. Using acrylic glass and UV printed ink, her vibrant multi-paneled works leap off the walls, blending seamlessly into the spaces they inhabit. From Toronto's Artist Project to galleries worldwide, Kesleigh's creations captivate audiences with their depth and fluidity. So welcome to the podcast, Kesley. We're so excited to talk to you. So I am super excited to talk to you for multiple reasons. One, you are one of those artists that I do not know at all. And I think I started following you a while back and I went, oh my gosh, her work is so cool. And then, when I was going through figuring out who I wanted to talk to, I remember I was like, I need to talk to this girl. So
yeah, we're social media buddies.
We're social media buddies. I have quite a few of those, and it's fun to have social media buddies, when it comes to art. Like, you can be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, and just send a quick little supportive message to another artist, and then for them to respond back, it's just like, yes.
Yeah, it feels good. Good.
It does. So I have a question. Is Kesley your real name, or is that like a pen name, or your kind of like your pseudonym, your actor name, your artist name?
Yeah, so Kesley is like a pen name. It is my artist name. I came up with it when I was I don't know, 7, maybe. I was just
Okay.
I'm going to be someone else. It was just it was just kids being kids, just playing around. I decided to be Angela today. I decided to be this person today. And Kesley just sort of stuck. And then throughout my life, she's just sort of been there. And yeah, that's where Kesley comes from. My original name, my birth name is Amy.
Amy. So do people still call you Amy, or do they actually call you Kesley?
Both.
They both. Okay.
Yeah,
so
and I respond to both too. So if someone's like, "Hey, Kesley," I look. So it's very very much ingrained in my brain that I'm both people.
That's so cool. For something to have stuck around that long from your childhood. I guess I have nicknames too. If my parents call me certain things, I'll still look, and it's just people will call me Billy sometimes. I'm like, huh? What?
Oh, people call you Billy?
Yeah, it was more like when my sister and I would get in trouble. I don't know if you ever have seen the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yep.
Okay, so the brothers next door were Billy and Russell?
Yes.
And so it's if we were out in a crowd, say we're at Disneyland or something, and my parents would yell mine and my sister's name, Heather, Jillian, Heather, Jill. Nothing. My dad would just have to whistle and say, Billy, Russell, and then we would stop and slowly turn around.
That is funny.
Yeah. So it's just, little funny anecdote. But that's so cool that you have that and that's what you go by. I love that that's, almost like a personality for you that's that is taken over, that's part of your art.
Yeah, and you know what? She is almost like a personality for me because originally I am such a timid, small, sort of anxious person, and Kesley just sometimes she just comes out and she does artist talks and she does this, she does podcasts, and she just rolls with it. So yeah, she is almost like an alter ego.
I love that so much. Awesome. Well, okay, so let's dive in here because your work is super, super unique. Okay, and it's really different. I have never seen someone who does what you do. So I need an explanation, and so does everyone else. So what exactly is UV lasers and acrylic glass, and like the whole process? Like, how is it that you actually paint with that?
So it's all digital. It's all digital paint. And when I do explain this to people who might enjoy more like traditional art, they're like totally confused. Um, so it's all done on my iPad, and I use different software programs to digitally paint what you see. Um, so it all kind of starts off with like a feeling or like a memory, or like sometimes it's like shadow work, and maybe we'll get into shadow work like later in this podcast. But I do a lot of journaling, and I do a lot of like brain vomit, which is just me just writing whatever in my journal, like whatever words come to mind, I'm just writing it down. Also a lot of meditation, dreaming, like I keep a dream journal.
I love dream
um
journals.
yes, seriously, it's the dream journals are so messed up. They're so messed up.
Wait, I have a quick question.
um
Do you dream in color?
yes, yes, I do. Why do you not?
No, I do too. Some people don't.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know
Sidetrack.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, tangent, but I didn't know that. Like
Yeah.
that'd be crazy. And yeah, anyway, so keep a dream journal. I write down everything. So that's kind of where it starts. That's where it like starts brewing. And I'm not even sure what the final piece is gonna be yet. I just know this feeling needs to come out. So that's kind of where it starts. And then I do all the meditation, and then I kind of start on my iPad. I'm painting, I'm finding pictures, and I'm painting with like this texture. It's really difficult to kind of explain, but you can make different paintbrushes. You
Yeah.
can make different digital paintbrushes that are unique to you, or unique to like what you need it
Are
to
you,
be.
are you using like Procreate or Adobe or something?
Yeah, so it's both.
Okay.
So I use
Yeah.
Procreate and Adobe, and like I kind of go back and forth between the software programs. And that's how I create it. And it could take months. It could take 2 minutes. Like it's really
Mhm.
dependent on the piece, the feelings, maybe the stars aligning. Like it's
I
really
feel that.
yeah, it's really kind of up in the air. So then after all that sort of soul searching is done, and I feel like the piece might be done, I'll do like a finalized color. Like I'll retouch the colors, make sure it's all like kind of perfect. Then I'll rasterize the piece, which basically is taking all the pixels and sort of condensing them.
What's
And
that
then
word
I'll
again?
rasterize.
Raster size?
Yes,
Huh. Okay,
it's in it's
continue.
in yeah, it's in Illustrator. So it kind of it's taking all the pixels and kind of condensing them so that it's like a really fine, um, detailed piece, and like you don't see any of the pixels.
I feel like I've heard it before. Like I have a friend who's a fabric designer, and I think I've heard her use that phrase before. So anyway,
Yeah,
continue. I'm
yeah,
really
it's
intrigued.
yeah. So it's in design a lot. Like it's in a lot of design. You'll see that people rasterize images so that you get a really crisp sort of image.
Hmm.
So after that, I'll like hand cut out or hand draw, I guess, hand draw the die lines. And then I'll send it off to like this specialized printer, because unfortunately I only have this tiny studio space and I can't fit a huge printer
Is it
inside
like
my
one of those
studio.
like, 8 foot long printers?
It's a huge,
Yeah.
huge printer, and they take UV inks, and then they UV ink the back of acrylic glass, and then they laser cut out the piece, and then they put a piece of vinyl on it, and then they put a piece of foam board on the back so it kind of like pops off the wall. And then it gets sent back to me, and I open it, and it's beautiful, and that's how I make it.
Wow, that is a process.
It's a huge process, and when I first started out, I was like, so overwhelmed. Like I didn't know where to start. I knew I wanted my pieces on glass. I knew I wanted to be digital form, but I didn't quite know how to make that work. And there's only three places that I know so far that do it. So there's two places in Toronto, and then there's another place in Germany.
Same city that where one of
Yeah,
them does it. That must be an
yeah.
investment as well,
Oh my
because
gosh.
like
Yes.
it's one thing for like us normal painters
Yeah.
who
Traditional
actually
painters.
traditional
Yeah.
painters um to go out and buy canvas, buy paint, but it's just like, oh, I can buy a canvas for 15-20 bucks, whatever, and then like, oh, I can, and you can just like dink around, and if it gets ruined or it's bad, you can just toss it or start again. But that, you are just like saying, I'm sending this off to the printer, I'm going to pay them to do this for me, and I'm going to cross my fingers and hope it turns out.
Yes. Yep. Yep. We've had a few hiccups for sure. I did a show in Europe, actually in France, and I had to send my pieces to Germany. And that's like really great because you don't have to have shipping costs. You just sort of send your files.
Oh, that's
And that's why I really love digital art is because you can be anywhere in the world. All you need is like Wi-Fi and your iPad, and like you could just be hanging out in Costa Rica or going to Paris or and it's just you can just do your art anywhere.
yeah.
But yeah, I did this show in France, and man, I had to send it all the way to Germany, and there was like a language barriers, and then they had to fabricate it over there, and making sure that like my vision was like fabricated across the world. I really brushed up on my French. And yeah, they're still over there actually. The pieces are still over there. It was a really brilliant show.
Oh, where was
It was
it?
really a unique experience. It was in Paris, and I am forgetting the show name, but it was like a really tiny show.
Was it at a gallery?
No, it was like an expo. It was like an
Oh, okay.
exposition. Yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. So
Yeah, it was so cool.
how did you decide to get into this kind of painting? Like this
Um,
style of painting?
yeah, so I've been an artist my entire life, and I'm sure most artists would say that
Hmm.
because like I feel like if you're like a good artist, you're kind of born that way, and you can see colors differently, and you have a different like sense. So I've been an artist my entire life, and I have done traditional things. So I do have like a background in
Hmm.
ceramics, actually,
Oh,
and I
cool.
do have a background in design. But what really got me into digital painting was the pandemic.
Oh,
So I couldn't go out and buy paints or um, like canvases. I didn't really have the money to do that. But I had an iPad, and I could download software that allowed me to paint on it. So that's kind of where it started.
iPad. And I have Procreate, and sometimes I'll go in there and dink around, and like I've done a few very specific kind of artwork in there. And I know this is only for people who have iPads, but do you do you have that layer that's on top that makes it feel like you're actually
Like
like
paper?
paper, and you're actually so
Yes.
you can feel the texture and it's not so smooth?
So yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah. Yeah, because it is kind of not unnerving, but it's kind of uncomfortable to be drawing on glass.
Yes, it's a
For
weird
for me,
thing.
for me anyway. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
like
it's like
I
having that same sensation of like that you're actually still drawing or like painting on an actual paper
on
instead of
paper.
a glass.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do have that. Yeah.
it's a thing, people, okay? I promise.
Yes, it is. It is.
um so you got into it during the pandemic, and just how did you discover the whole UV laser aspect of it? Like, was that like
So,
a deep dive, down the rabbit hole research?
yes, it was a lot of research, and it was a lot of like breakdowns. I remember being like, if I can't do it on glass, then I'm not being an artist. Like it was like a whole thing. Like I was like having, well, I'm sure everyone was having kind of mental breakdowns during the pandemic, but it was like a real thing. So my very first prototypes were actually, it's actually a piece of vinyl, like piece of clear vinyl sandwiched in between two pieces of glass. And it's very heavy. They're um, very much prototypes in the way that the backing was sort of like a French cleat. You know what a French cleat
I
is when
do
you're
know
like,
what a French cleat is.
yes, yeah, yeah. So it's sort of like the backing sort of like intersects each other to kind of hang on the wall, but there was all like it was like just a piece of wood that was sort of attached to the back. I paid loads and loads of money. Like it was like kind of criminal almost how much money I spent on them. And they're still in my closet. Like they're still in there.
Okay, okay, so I can include them in show notes. I'm gonna need you to send me photos so I can
Oh
put
my
them
gosh,
in the
okay.
show notes so that we can talk about this. So,
Yes.
did you do them yourself at first, like trying to figure this out? Like you cut out the vine and tried to put it on the back of glass layer, or
So no, I also outsourced them to a different, it was like a glass fabric, but like they like fabricated glass, and it was just this one dude, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it for like, I don't even, it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. And I created, I think six pieces.
oh wow.
And I remember he broke one piece and I was like, oh my God. And like I had to keep calling him and emailing him to be like create another piece because oh my gosh, it was I think I have some videos of him breaking it too. So like we can
Oh my
include that
gosh.
if you want.
I want to I just need to see it all. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, this is cool. Like my mind is spent like I want to go to the place and watch the machine do it. That's the
Me
type of like
too.
like
Okay,
I
so
have that
yeah.
engineering mind in me and I was like and I wish it's just like I like watching how things come together. I like watching how things are built. And that seems to me like I need to go visit this place. I need to do a tour and I need some vidges of it so that my mind can go OMG.
So I have asked, and I was like, I need to see it. I need to get some videos for like social media because it's really, really cool. And I've seen like YouTube videos of like them UV inking, but I want to see my piece, like I want to see
Yeah.
my piece being made. And it's sort of in the works, I guess. It's sort
So
of in
they
the
haven't
works.
like allowed you to come in and video or be part of it yet?
No, because it's kind of dangerous back there. There's a lot of like UV lights and like you kind of have
Can't you
to
wear like a suit? Almost like, when you go and get an x-ray, they put you in a suit.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it's in the works. I think if I would wear them down enough, like if I call them, email them enough, maybe I'll be able to get back there. But it is kind of dangerous. So maybe
All right.
soon.
Soon. Okay. Well, when you
Yeah.
do, send post videos, send videos. I'm sure I'm not the only person who wants to see this in action.
Yeah.
Um, so let's dive in back to your subject matter. You say nostalgia, dreams, memories, meditation. How is it usually like a theme that you pick when you get there, or is it more just like truly a feeling of or an idea that you just tend to grow on and like I do and go down a rabbit hole and then like really become consumed by it?
It's definitely consuming me for sure. It's definitely that those feelings. Like I'll give you an example. Of one piece that I'm sort of contending with, like I'm sort of thinking about it, but I'll put it on the back burner. So I have this memory, and also it coincides with the feeling that I have of like crunchy gravel, and it's my dad's foot. And this is like a really early, early memory.
Yeah.
It's my dad's foot crunching on like spring gravel when the snow just melted, and it has this specific sound.
It does.
And like my dad's there and the sun is shining and it's springtime and I want to somehow get those feelings and like that memory into a piece, but it's sort of
Yes.
on the back burner right now. And that's sort of like how it starts.
Oh my gosh, you and I think so similarly. You have no idea. Like I'm not the only one who has like ideas like this, and I was like, how do I put that into painting in an abstract way?
Exactly. And that's like the goal, right? That's the whole, like, you're trying to create a bridge between that feeling and you're trying to make it tangible to others. And that's so difficult, but it's so like inspiring. Like it like gets you going.
Yeah, you're like, what color is that crunch?
Yeah,
What
like it's
it
exactly that. Yeah. Like what color what color is the sun? Like my dad, like what's his like sort of vibe with like during that memory? Like it's a
Mhm.
very,
It's like,
very personal.
you're like, what was I wearing? What was I feeling? What was, what, oh God, you and I
Yeah, it's all of that.
literally,
It's all of that. And you're trying to put that all in one piece. It's like so, oh,
and it's like you can kind of see bits and pieces of it, and it starts like taking over your brain, and you're like, okay, I'll sit with it for a little bit. I'll sit with it until it finally is like,
exactly.
got it.
Yeah, yeah. And it'll take like 30 minutes or something, or 2 minutes to just be like, there it is.
Yeah.
Or it could be like years. I don't know.
Yeah. And
I
you
don't
just
know.
build on it or build on it. And oh man, I'm really glad I'm not the only one. That's that because I have yet to find another artist who has said what you just said and me go, yes, that's how I think too.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's just like I found a friend. Um so when you say, because I've seen your work, your color palette is very vast and there
Yes.
is a lot of color in your pieces, and I'm assuming there's a lot of like layer buttons when you're in Procreate or Adobe
Oh,
going layer
tons.
layer layer. How many layers would you say is like the most you've ever used?
Oh, the most?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or a minimum like 20, 5?
Minimum, the minimum probably like 50?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like 50. Um, there's a smaller piece that I did that was maybe only like 20, 25. But most of my pieces, the minimum's kind of like 50.
That's so cool. Okay.
So
So
they're big, big files. They're huge
they're big
files.
files. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of color in there. How do you know, because I know for me and my crazy thought process is I always have I do that journaling, and I do, and I think about color very specifically. Um and I kind of try and usually have one or two colors like for a starting point. Like how do you decide your colors and how do you build on top of them?
So I don't decide. I just kind of flow.
You flow.
Yeah. So I try not to, because I know a lot of artists do this. They take like, I'm only going to use the primary colors and then they use that. Or I'm only going to use two colors and try to make a painting out of that. And that's fine. And
Those are good for artist challenges for yourself to try and like get some ideas
exactly.
flowing.
Yeah, exactly. But I just let myself, like, if I need a green, I'll just use that green. If I need like an orange to go next to that green to make it pop, like I like the way that orange and green looks together. And if it aligns with what I'm feeling or like what that memory feels like, then I'll just use it. I try not to damper anything. Um, saying that though, I am coming up with a piece that's like more monotone. Like it's more,
Ooh.
yeah, it's more reserved and it's sort of in line with what like I'm trying to do with shadow work. So
Okay.
it's more, yeah,
What's
again, shadow
shadow?
work.
Yeah, I was just
Shadow work.
like, explain.
Okay, so shadow work is something like it's sort of like in the back of your psyche. Like it's the things that you sort of like cover up or push aside, or maybe you have like a dark thought, and like that's the type of stuff that I'm trying to um kind of delve into, just because I have a lot in my past that I kind of want to bring to the surface and sort of sort through.
Okay.
So it's sort of like therapy in a way. And that's what shadow work is for me. It's like very much delving deep and bringing up maybe uncomfortable things that I have in the past, or like those memories, because memories aren't just positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole range of emotions, and I
Oh
kind of
yeah.
want to delve into that sort of darker, deeper area.
A lot of very like positive uplifting collections, but I'm in the process right now of also delving into that's the really good way to do it, of like past that's a little bit darker. It's it's a really interesting feeling because like it's uncomfortable and you like mentally I'm like, are people gonna take to this? Are they gonna be, I don't know, like turned off by it? Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I feel like it's really important not for myself, but for other people to see. And then it's just like I'm still also but trying to make it like really honest art, but then also like look a certain way. It's are you having that
yes,
difficulty?
yes. So it is hard to like. You want people to like your work. I think that's a deep set saying with artists. You want people to be like, oh wow, that's great. And maybe you want people to be like, oh wow, I want to buy that because like,
Deep down, we all
we
want
got
that.
we gotta pay bills, right? So I think there's this feeling or like this want to have people like want your work. Um, but to be how do I put this? Um, to work with your shadow is very human
Yes.
and like to be honest with your work is also part of being a human. And as artists, we do explore our own lives and lives of other people. And the world isn't just this happy, sparkly, great place. It's also sometimes dark. It's sometimes uncomfortable, and
Hmm.
it's just something that you kind of need to also appreciate.
Yeah. That's I thank you for saying that. That was wonderful. That was really,
Yeah.
really well put. Um, so um I can't I need to know when you actually do this, when you finish this lovely shadow work, this collection. I cannot wait to see it. Um, so do you typically work in one-offs or do you do collections? So it's like, is the shadow work, is it going to be kind of like a collection or are you going to just do one at a time and just see?
So yeah, so usually it's one-off because most of what I want to say is kind of like all in one piece.
Mhm.
And I did recently get like a portfolio review done by like a professional like artist in the world. And they said that I need to do more collection work. Like most of my work is like one-offs and like they don't really meld together that well. Like they're kind of just like, they're like just their own thing. They're like all my like little babies.
Yeah, no, I 100% get it. Someone told me
Yeah,
that too, so that's why I ask, and I did a lot of one-offs, and then now I typically only work in collections because of that reason.
yeah, yeah. So I think I am gonna do shadow work as like a collection. Um, I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna do that yet because like all like what I just said, like all my feelings and like my emotions sort of go into like one piece, and then like that's what I want to say, and then that's kind of like the piece.
Hmm.
So maybe I'll start planning. Maybe I'll plan these ones because I've never really planned work before.
Hmm.
Um,
We can
so we'll see
talk.
where that goes.
We
Yeah,
we can talk after
yeah,
recording and like because that's a whole like deep dive into something that's yeah. No,
yeah,
we can chat about that for sure if you want a little bit of guidance. At least
yeah.
what works for me. No, that is exciting though that it's that you do put that much energy and thought and effort into that one piece because in it's almost like there's probably little bits and pieces of other pieces in that one big piece,
Yes,
you know?
yeah,
Um and I just that's really special that you have that. Your work is just so cool and unique that I'm still like trying to get over it. Like I feel like a giddy little kid talking to you right now. Um so you say sometimes a piece will take, you know, can you really draw that like paint that fast in Procreate like layer like a couple minutes or it takes a while or how start to
so
finish?
start to finish. Yeah, so like when I say 2 minutes, it's like it kind of comes together in 2 minutes, like it
Gotcha. Okay,
like
okay,
all the
okay.
layers and all like the textures and all the colors, and I'm just like, you know what? And you kind of piece them together and you're like, voila, there we go. That's it. That's the piece. And that can take 2 minutes. But really, all those layers that I paint, all the textures, all the found images that I might use or might not use, to put it maybe like a month,
A month. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
of like, I don't know how many hours that is because
Yeah.
I could not tell you
Oh,
how many hours.
I'm the same. Like I don't know if you do this, but I have a list. I have a Pinterest board for like
Oh,
certain
me too.
very specific things, and then I'll keep files in my albums. Like I'll download the photos onto my phone. Um and then I have albums with like potential like collection names and that's where like my reference photos go. So I
Right, yeah.
try and otherwherwise I'm doing this on your phone like where was that photo?
Oh my
You're
God.
like scrolling back
Right. Yeah,
forever.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish I was that organized because that's kind of me. That's kind of like, where's that photo?
You're like, I know I got it on here, or I saw something on Instagram and you screenshot it. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish I was that organized. I'm sort of chaotic, really. It's sort of like everywhere.
oh, I am organized, but I'm also not organized. I just want to put that out because like I only recently started doing this because it was driving me crazy
Right.
to do these things.
You can only
Um,
take so much.
yeah, yeah, because I was just like, I had so many fantastical ideas that my brain couldn't keep up. So, but how long does the printing process take?
Oh, so once I send it off, they're
Yeah.
really, really quick. They have like a whole like file on me and like how I like things to be done.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty quick. It's like 5 business days, maybe.
Oh, okay.
And I once kind of rushed them along at one point, and it took them 2 business days. So, like,
Hmm.
not long at all.
Not long at all. I guess once you
Yeah,
just they put it in, they program it into their computer and then hit a button and it,
exactly,
does its thing.
exactly. They have like the dimensions of like how thick of the acrylic that I want, and they do like the UV painting, like what kind of like color palettes that I have. Like they have me down pat.
That's awesome that you can work with a fabricator like that and just like they know you that well to do it.
Exactly.
So how thick are these pieces?
They're a quarter inch.
Okay.
They're a quarter inch thick, but then the backing is like a half-inch foam board.
Okay. And how do
Yeah.
they hang on a French cleat as well, or how is it attached to, or is it
So
like a bracket?
yeah, we evolved and we used like a bracket, it's sort of like how do I explain this? It's like a oh, I don't want to say it's like a hole in it in the back of it, but it is sort of like a bracket, but it's like an inset bracket.
Okay.
So when you hang the piece, it's like flush against the wall.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's nice. So then it really does kind of pop off the wall in like
pop
a
off. It kind
nice
of
sculptural
yeah,
way. It is
exactly,
almost
yeah.
sculpture. It's like it's a painted sculpture, kind of in a
Yes.
sense.
Yes, and I want to talk about sculpture because my next sort of step in this realm is thermoforming. And that's where they take a piece of acrylic and they lay it on this and they heat it up really, really hot, and then they lay it on top of this form and it kind of pops out. So it's more 3D.
I've heard of this.
Yes, yes. And it's sort of like a newish thing. They recently came up with like a type of ink that can stretch. So the ink that's on these ones right now, if I was to thermoform them, they would sort of break and then the colors would sort of fade. But
Oh,
they come up with this like new ink that you can stretch and the color kind of stays the same. So I'm really, really interested in doing that.
so many
I know.
exciting things.
I know, I know.
All right, so you have a piece back there.
I
Can we
do.
can we talk about it? So sorry if you're
Yes.
listening. You're gonna have to either go to YouTube or check in the show notes later for the piece that we're about to talk about because she has these really cool pieces that are behind her in her little studio here, and one of them is very, very intriguing back there.
Yeah. So should I just go grab it then? Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to
Okay.
bring it up to the show to the camera. Oh man, it's huge.
It
Are
is
they
huge. So
are they
this,
heavy?
They are kind of heavy, yeah.
They are. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. So this piece is like the exact same height as I am, and
Okay.
it's called Me, and it's actually like a self-portrait of myself.
It's
And
beautiful.
it's yeah, and it's a piece of I took a photo of a crystal actually, and this is that crystal blown up. And it really symbolizes like the sort of hard exterior that I have, and then the pink is really sort of like the soft swishiness. And it's one of the biggest pieces that I have currently. And it's also going to be in the artist project, which I guess by the time you record this and like edit it, it's going to be over. But
Yeah. So what is the
yeah,
artist project? Is it only in Toronto?
it is only in Toronto.
Okay.
Yes, it's like Toronto is like not one of the. It's one of the bigger art fairs, I think.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, I'm super proud of this piece. It's like one of
It
my
is.
favorite
Can
pieces.
you hold it up just so I can see the bottom real quick?
Yeah, let's
I just
see,
want to
so I don't hit
see.
the ceiling.
Oh yeah,
Whoa.
it's
It's
really
kind of
pretty.
painted at the bottom. Yeah.
That's really cool. It's really, really
Yeah.
pretty. And then what about you? What about the round one behind you?
The round, so this is actually like my first like UV inked printed piece that I did. So it's out kind of like behind me just to show me like it's one of your first pieces, and I was so proud of this piece.
It's really cool. It
Yeah,
kind of has this
just step
lavender
back.
haze type situation going on in this color.
Yeah, and it's like really hang on just 1 second. There you go. Yeah, so that piece is like my very first piece that I ever sort of like did. Since then, my work has really kind of evolved. But I keep that piece there just because it reminds me of like where I started, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
So on your website, because I did go deep dive into your website, you have your titles are really fun and playful. How
Yes.
how how do you come about your titles?
So it's really about like the memory. It really is about the memory, or like maybe I dreamt of the phrase. So like I'll give you an example. There's this piece called "You'll Mix Up Every Detail of Every Story," and that piece actually is about like a compromise in a long-term relationship. And so it's like this. It's really about frustrations that arise when you've lived with someone for so long, and you just sort of like you can't die on every hill, like you got to let things go. And it's like it's about how we're navigating um, what we both need, and then also letting go of different things for the sake of the other.
Yeah.
And you'll mix up every detail, every story is just sort of like that frustration, like that's
Hmm.
not how what I said, like you're mixing that up, and that's just sort of where that came from.
Yeah.
Like another one, it's on my website here to kind of pick
Yeah,
one.
you had some really there's a couple that had like they're really bright colors and then they had like these black and white kind of stripe very bold sections in them. There was a couple I wish I should have wrote them down, but I didn't. Um
Oh,
and then like you even had like the three bodies that were like one was
oh
standing, one was
yes,
like they were like
yes.
posing and then but they'd like
Y-
all like those are really cool.
yeah, so that one's actually called oh my goodness, Good Things Come in Threes.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like a saying that my mom used to tell me. And she says, things come in threes because, like, usually when one good thing happens, it sort of snowballs and you get two more good things.
Mhm.
But that's just where that comes from. And of course, that one there is just called Me. And
Mhm.
that's like,
Yeah.
it's self explanatory. It's like
Yeah.
me. Um, there's another one here that I wanted to talk about. Just for the thought of you, I will. And that one's sort of it's brightly colored. It's
Mhm.
very bright.
Mhm.
But it also has like sort of like a darker side to it.
Mhm.
It's really about the struggle that I go through with mental health. And if I didn't have my people probably wouldn't have me. So like just for the thought of you, I will, and like I will keep creating for you. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where that comes from. So like the titles of the stories or of the pieces really come from a personal place, I think, and they're really about that memory.
That's really cool. And you know what's cool is it like some, whoever's purchasing that, like reading that title, that could resonate with them on another level, or it could align with
Yeah,
what what you were thinking, but it really could, I love it when people get creative and they really put thought into their titles, because, that's where sometimes I think that connection to the collector and that spark and that memory could come from their side in order to be able to connect to the piece.
yeah, exactly. And I think that connection to the piece, like the name of the piece really does tie in with the piece. And I think that correlation there is important.
100%. Um, So, is there any other pieces that we need to know? Is there where can we find your work? Is there any other pieces that you're excited to, that you're currently working on that you want to share?
So I do have a few pieces that I'm currently working on. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm working on like 20 different pieces at any one time. But I am really excited about this one piece, and I don't know if it'll show up. This is my iPad. I don't know if it'll show up. And to anyone who's sort of listening on the podcast right now, maybe go to YouTube to listen to this one part.
Yeah.
But this one, I
Oh,
don't know if you can kind of see it, but I'm really
oh
excited
my
about this one.
gosh, that is so cool. Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
it's three females.
yeah,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
try
yeah.
and
Try to
describe
explain
it.
it. Yeah.
So
So
three females, go for it.
it's three females. There's one in the back, one in the foreground, and sort of one in the front. And they're all different colors, and they're all kind of space themed.
I
And
love that. Yeah, and
yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
the one in the front, she kind of is posing, it's like she's really calm, and then it's then the two in the back, like they're kind of turned sideways, but then they all still look like they could be one body, and then it kind of splits off like up at the top. And they're,
hmm
oh wow.
And this one, the feeling that I have with this one, or the memory that I have with this one, is really like growth.
Uh-huh.
So I said this at the very beginning of the podcast that I'm very timid, I'm very shy. But the more I grow older, like I just turned 30 last year, 31 in May this year.
Hmm.
And I'm so relieved that I left my 20s behind. Like a lot of people were
We
like, "Oh
all,
my God, I don't want to turn 30." And like as soon as I turned 30, I was just had this sigh of relief, like thank goodness that's all behind me.
you aren't the only one. 30s are the best. Like truly,
Yes,
like I
honestly,
would not
yeah.
go back to my 20s. I would not want to redo them. I do not want to revisit them. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's honestly the most tumultuous. Like it's so traumatic. Like, it was
It
so
is.
much turmoil.
Yeah, so much
Oh,
struggle. 20s,
yeah, the struggle.
the 20, you just struggle in your
hmm
20s. And I think,
Yeah.
well, at least for me as an artist, that is where I've had a lot of growth. That's where
hmm
like I get a lot of those memories and those things happen that I'm like, this now needs to be a painting. I need to write.
Inspiration.
Yes.
Inspiration in the 20s. Yeah, for sure. For
That's
sure.
that's what the 20s were, the inspiration years. I'm sure more
Yes.
inspiration will
Yeah.
come in your 30s, a different level of it, but man, yeah,
Yeah. I feel
that's
so much better right now than I did even 2 years ago. You know?
right.
Uh,
So yes, yay to being in your 30s.
yeah. Yeah.
All right, so you have the artist project coming up. So are you gonna have your own booth and stuff there?
Yes. Yes. My own booth. It's a 5 by 10 booth, so I
Oh,
have
that's
lots
good.
of art going in there.
That's a good
It's gonna be
size.
really great. And like my favorite part of this, and I know I just said that I was really timid and shy. My favorite part of this is actually talking to people and like getting their sort of grasp on what I do. And
Yes.
I love talking about like what we're doing now. I love talking about like how it comes to be. And people are like always so confused about what digital art is. And digital art can be literally anything, but this is what my digital art is. And like I love explaining that to people.
It's so much fun, and I love doing fairs specifically for that reason too. Believe it or not, I am also a very um I am a homebody and I am an introverted extrovert. If I am talking about something that excites me, I am on. My extrovertness is on. But all the other times, I am 100% an introvert. Like, no thanks. No thanks. Bye. I'm going to stay
I'd
home.
rather just like, yeah, I'd rather just like watch reruns of Survivor or something and eat popcorn, you know?
Yes, totally true.
Yeah.
So, no, that's I feel you on that one. It is really exciting to have to be able to show in a fair like setting, to be able to explain your work to other people as they come up. And I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to follow you on um follow what you're gonna do on Instagram so I can kind of be there in spirit. Are you
Yeah.
showing anywhere else?
So I am at the Latcham Art Center that's up in Stouffville. So it's like an hour north of Toronto. So if anyone listening that's in Toronto, you can go up there and see that piece. You'll mix up every detail of every story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a really pretty piece. Maybe I'll add a photo of it in the show notes and
Yeah,
people can
definitely
see
will.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything happening this summer? Any plans for showing? Not yet.
Um, not yet, not yet. I am furiously applying everywhere and anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of aligns with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do get the sense that digital art still isn't there yet. I feel like traditional art has a big grasp on a lot of galleries, especially in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
But that does not um like I'm still trying. I'm
Yeah.
still trying to get in their ear and trying to get my artwork in every gallery.
Yeah. No, I did. You aren't the only one. You aren't the only
Yeah,
one. So
yeah.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and explaining your beautiful digital art and UV lasers and inks and about your dreams and nostalgia. I'm also glad to hear that I'm not the only person who thinks on the level that I do. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not the only
It was
one.
great. It was great being here, and it was great
Yeah.
meeting you and talking to you. And yeah, this has been a really enjoyable
I
experience.
think you and I are gonna continue talking for a long time
For
after this.
sure.
This isn't
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be our only
yeah,
art conversation. So
yeah.
everyone listening, I will make sure to include Kesleigh's website, her Instagram, and obviously I will link all of the amazing paintings that we talked about into the show notes. And if you are watching on YouTube, obviously you got to see, some of the pieces in the background, but I'll make sure to include all that information. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening.
I
And that, my friends, wraps up another colorful episode of The Artist Stoop. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their art and stories. If you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the next Stoop chat. And don't forget to spread the love. Share your favorite episodes with fellow art enthusiasts, and let's build this community together. Connect with us on social media at Kezleigh Studio and Jillian Zepeda Art for behind-the-scene peeks, artist spotlights, and a sneak peek at my own art. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep that creative fire burning. This is Jillian Zepeda signing off from The Artist Stoop. And remember, the world is your canvas, so paint it vividly.